Good morning. This Monday, we wake up to a new world order. Yes, that is how drastic the changes are after the conference in Munich, Germany. The United States has effectively ended their commitment to safeguarding the freedom of Europe against the Soviet Union. Because Russia today, let's face it, it's nothing else than the continuation of the Soviet Union with a new name. So, what is going on? Well, obviously, Donald Trump has assumed the presidency of the United States, and he has assigned Elon Musk and his Doge team to do drastic changes, as they say, in order to reform the government and be more efficient. But it's clear to anybody who watches that what they're really doing is destroying government from inside. Courts have ordered them to stop, but they continue. They disobey the courts. And that has even been said by the Vice President Vance that they should do it. That's his point of view, that they should do it, which is basically straight up a coup d'etat. Trump and his team are committing a coup d'etat in the United States. Well, as a parenthesis, I've seen images, photos, videos of ex-Senator Marco Rubio, now Secretary of State, and he has his face as if he's tormented, as if he's under threat or something. It's painful to view him. Anyway, back to the topic. Trump has spoken to Putin before he spoke to Zelensky about the so-called peace in Ukraine. What Trump is offering, or rather threatening, is to abandon Ukraine. And at the same time, Trump is threatening to take over Canada and Greenland. We can see what is or we can have a good hunch of what is behind here. It's the new version of the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact, where the Germans, the Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union divided their interests in Eastern Europe. But here it's the United States and Russia that are dividing the interest of the world. Russia is allowing the United States to take North America, and the United States is allowing Russia to take Europe. Russia is nothing more than the continuation of the Mongol Empire that was once the world's largest empire. They invaded all the way from up to the borders of Europe, including to the border of Sweden. And in the east, it reached to the border of Vietnam. That's how big it was. That was succeeded by the Golden Horde, and Moscow was under their boot, but Moscow cooperated and then betrayed them and took over. So Moscow, Russia is the continuation of the Mongol invasion of Europe. And before them, there was the Huns, which got all the way to present-day France before they were defeated in a cooperation between the Romans and the Germanic and Gaul peoples. We are standing in front of a historic event. A reorganization of a similar nature, maybe not so big, happened before the Second World War, in that Nazi Germany ended their alliance and cooperation with China, the attacked country, and started cooperating with Japan, Imperial Japan, the aggressor. The same thing has now been repeated by Donald Trump. Donald Trump has done the same thing as Adolf Hitler did. Now, on another front, the southern front, with the immigrants, there has been a lot of media reports of Venezuelan migrants behaving bad in the United States. And in my opinion, there is no doubt that a large part of that has been planted on purpose in order to paint the Venezuelans bad. In fact, I would say the Venezuelans are the Jews of the 21st century. Trump agreed with Maduro to send refugees back to Venezuela. We know that 8 million Venezuelans have fled their country because the Maduro regime has committed crimes against humanity and even genocide. That's why they fled. And Trump is forcing them back to that country without any change of regime. What is the Maduro regime? It is a narco-tyranny. And they are obviously below Cuba in the hierarchy, and they in turn are below Russia. So Putin is behind Maduro, and Putin is an ally of Trump. They make deals, Trump and Putin, and so it makes sense that Trump and Maduro are also on the same team. But it doesn't stop there. As you may know, I was kidnapped 2 years ago almost by the ELN guerrilla who grow coca in Colombia. They took me to Venezuela and told me that I was hostage. I was interrogated by a person working for the regime. And then I was released back in Colombia. Now, at about the same time as Trump took office, the ELN went on a bloody attack against FARC, with whom they were at peace when I was there. It's the biggest crisis in Catatumbo in the history, with tens of thousands of people driven out as refugees. And then Gustavo Petro, the president of Colombia, met with Maduro, the dictator of Venezuela, and they agreed to together use their military forces to stop that war. But the military of Venezuela are allied with ELN. ELN themselves told me that they are together with Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela in the revolution, as they call it. And they also told me that Gustavo Petro is with them. So Petro and Maduro are on the same side. And in fact, the day they took me to Venezuela as hostage, Petro and Maduro met. And when I was released, it was after a top meeting that Petro had organized. So Petro, Maduro, ELN are all on the same side, the cocaine cartel, which has as its maximum backer Vladimir Putin in Russia. Now they said, oh, we made peace in Catatumbo. People started going back only to find that the ELN have taken their houses, their farms. This is a giant ethnic cleansing in order to expand the coca production in the Catatumbo, which is the biggest coca growing area in the world. Cocaine is for them a chemical weapon and a huge problem. And personally, I think anybody who's buying or using cocaine should face the most severe penalty for financing global terrorism. Now, but back to the topic here. So we've seen Putin, Trump, Maduro, Petro, and the other countries, Cuba, Nicaragua, Iran, North Korea. They are all together, and China. However, the one with the most links to China in the US administration is Elon Musk, who has huge financial entanglements with China. And we've also learned recently that there is a movement in Silicon Valley that has as a plan to create a dictatorship, an oligarchic tech company dictatorship in the United States. And that is what is going on now. The United States is turning into an oligarchy in a coup d'etat with Elon Musk in the front. Trump is just a frontman because Elon Musk can't run for president in the US. This is the new world order. And we in Europe, here in Sweden, not at least, we have to assume the responsibility now to defend freedom and democracy in the world, and especially in Europe, and to defend human rights. So what do we have to do? Well, first of all, we have to see who are our allies. Obviously, Ukraine is our ally. Poland is. The Baltic republics, Finland, all the Scandinavian countries, the UK, France. But what we have to do is to organize the defense, to drastically increase the defense capability, because we are going to have to face Russia in a war where there is only one acceptable outcome, and that is the unconditional surrender of Russia. But we can't only do that. We also have to receive the refugees, because, as I said, the Venezuelans and several other Latin American refugees, they are the Jews of the 21st century. A lot of countries are trying to get them out at the same time, and we cannot allow a repeat of what happened with the Jews who were sent out, who left Germany because they didn't want them there, but were not accepted in other countries. So they came back to Germany and were exterminated in the Holocaust. We cannot allow that to happen again. We in the rest of the world must accept these refugees. But here comes my third point. We have to set up foreign legions of these refugees. Yes, we have to organize them as military units that can A, help us in the war against Russia, and B, help in the liberation of their own countries, of the satellite states of Russia, because they have to be liberated. Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba must be liberated of this evil that have taken over them. We are facing the biggest challenge in centuries, probably. And we have to assume it. It fell on this generation. And now it's our turn to save the world and save civilization.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars